Greetings, Fright Nights. It's your old pal Count Jackula from the planet Dracula, and I just got done seeing a movie called Housebound, which is currently on VOD. It has been for a little bit. You can watch it on Amazon Instant, and whoa, thumbs up. The movie is great. I'm not even sure how to fucking describe the movie without completely spoilering it, so I'm not even gonna try. God, you should really see this movie. The basic idea of this movie is that a woman is under house arrest in her parents' old place, and she becomes aware that the house might be haunted. That's the basic breakdown. The movie is this bizarre form of horror and comedy. It's a complete horror comedy, and it's really, really good because it creeps up on you. The it oh my god, the comedy element just creeps up on you. Once again, like if you really want to watch the movie, go watch it. Um, Absolutely, it's great. You will have a fantastic time. Um, it's funny as hell. It's really well made. The script is super fucking tight. Um, Everything that happens in this movie comes back in the last act. It's amazing. Um, it's a combination of, oh god, I don't want to say it's like a combination of like the Amityville Horror and People Under the Stairs. Um, oh god, not that no, even that might not be completely accurate, but definitely it's all about this woman with a troubled past who does not get along with her family, and now she's stuck in a house with them. And she becomes aware that the house has a history that no one has told her about. Um and everything just starts to come together. She becomes suspicious of her mom. She becomes suspicious of her stepfather. She becomes suspicious of the man next door because she's caught in a house. She can't leave because she's got like an ankle bracelet. Yeah, I'm not wearing shoes. And just she has nothing better to do than to ruminate on the awful possibility that there is a angry ghost in her house. And then suddenly, halfway through the movie becomes a different movie. And it you do a double take because you're not fucking expecting it. The minute the minute this movie looks like it's going to go exactly in the direction you think it is the exact moment it fucking does a 180. And they keep doing it. They keep fucking with your expectations to the point where you yeah, you never lose your, like with Wormwood, you never lose your place. You know exactly where you are at all times in the movie. But if you stop and contemplate how the fuck did we get here, you're almost not sure. You're like, when did this go from this this movie to the movie I'm watching? When did this go from like a real serious, like, pressure cooker movie to this almost this balls to the wall, like comedic take on like an Argento film almost. Like it really feels like it goes from it's oh god, it feels like it goes from being like Gaslight to being a comedic version of like Deep Red. And if you haven't seen Deep Red, go watch Deep Red. Deep Red's great. Classic Argento crime film. This does the same thing. And hey, good news for all you horror fans, the movie does get gory. It's not as gory as like, say, Dead Alive or Brain Dead for those of you in Australia and New Zealand. But like, what is as gory as that movie? Like, just nothing. That's what. But like, this movie does not hold back on the gore. It uses gore as a comedic device. So if you're like, oh man, no, like fucking a dude running around with arterial spray going all over the place is your idea of comedy, you will love Housebound. You will love it. It's only been out for a couple of months. They're already gonna make an American remake, which I'm like, why? Because it's not like the movie isn't already in English. Like those accents are a little thick, but if you can get through like fucking Mad Max, you're not gonna have any problem with Housebound. You know, it's not so deep at an outback Aussie accent or anything that you're like, hey, what I saying? What they saying? What they saying, Bruce? I don't understand. I don't understand what they're saying. This bad book, this little Bobby. It's not like that. It's not mumblecore. Like it's a fucking well written, well shot, taut comedy thriller horror movie. Man, um, but yeah, they're gonna do a remake, which I'm like, why? Just release this movie in theaters. Like, why wouldn't you? Why not? You know, unless there's like some sort of like the MPAA doesn't like blood because they're on like this weird warpath right now. Brief fucking like just real quick rant on the MPAA. The more I look into why movies have been like PG and PG-13 and why they've been bloodless and goreless and without nudity, I'm realizing it has less to do with the audience and more to do with the MPAA. Like they've essentially become the Hays Code at this point. You know, to the point where they are rigidly enforcing these like morality guidelines. And you know me, I hate moral guardians. They are the lowest fucking form of life. They don't make anything, they don't do anything, they just tell you you're fucking wrong all the fucking time. And I get really mad when the online blogosphere gets into that act and starts fucking moralizing on shit. Because god damn it, we are supposed to be the guardians of art, okay? Okay? I for the love of fucking crap, like we're supposed to be supporting the arts. That's who we are. We're the younger generation. I mean, for fuck's sake. Like, and some of these moral guardians are younger than I am. I mean, I'm not that young, but god damn it, when I hear like, oh, did we really need all that blood? Yes, we needed all that blood. We needed that blood. We needed that nudity. We needed that dark humor. It's the kind of movie it is. You know, like, oh, you're just laughing at people getting hurt. Yes, it's the Three Stooges with blood. Brrr. Now, obviously, I'm not getting mad at the Fright Nights here, because if you're a Fright Night or a Graveyard Tramp, you're already fucking on board. You know that this show loves gore, it loves nudity, it is just into the gloriously ridiculous and excessive. We love that shit. And so Housebound is one of the best movies of the year. Just wow, so many good genre flicks have happened. It's only February. I can't believe it. Damn. The main all the actors are fucking spot on. They're all fantastic. And I love the fact that you by the end of the movie, your opinion of everyone has changed. About the only person who you're kind of with the entire time is the main character. And even then, your opinion has changed of her because she has changed. Like you change with her as you're watching it, which is, you know, that's hard to do. And they did it really, really, really well because she never gets so unlikable that you just flat out fucking hate her. You're always just kind of like, ooh, like you feel like she's got a bad attitude, but like you don't feel like she's a bad person. You feel like she's a normal person who does like bad and angry things because she's just angry. You know, so I really identified with her because I'm like, yeah, I can imagine just being that pissed off with the world. And when they kind of you kind of go into like the relationship she has with her mother. You kind of understand why she's so pissed off. But even your opinion of the mother changes during the course of the film. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Um, and it's a great example of when to do just enough and when to go over the top, because the movie does both. It's doing both at the same time. It is both restrained and excessive when it needs to be, when it will have the biggest impact and the most effect. Um, Damn, so good. I have no idea what they're going to do with an American remake, because an American remake is going to have a couple of problems, not all of which are going to be immediately obvious. The first one is guns. A movie like this is going to have to be set in like the deep south, or like in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma or Minnesota or something. But the thing is that everyone is going to have guns, particularly law enforcement, and that changes the story in subtle ways. And I'm afraid that change in and of itself is going to cause a lot of problems, because there are a lot of problems that could be solved with a gun. But in New Zealand, like, not all the cops have firearms. Like, and that's a big issue, especially when it comes to one of the main characters who is not a cop who carries a gun. um and the family doesn't have guns in the house, because, like, well, not every family has guns in the house. If you're out in the middle of like Oklahoma or Minnesota or in the deep south, the assumption is going to be that you're going to have a gun in the house. Now, I know not everybody in those places like has guns all over the place, but there's the assumption that that's going to be there, that you have to adjust for. And in this one, you don't have to adjust for it, because, well, but most cops just don't carry those firearms around. They're not that heavily armed. It's not like there's a shotgun in the patrol car. Not at all times, and not for everyone. I don't exactly know how New Zealand law enforcement works, or whether or not they have guns all over the place, but my impression has been that they're not nearly as armed as like American law enforcement. They just aren't. Because for the most part, what are you gonna do? Like, shoot sheep? You know, People are just about as much of a problem as ever, but it's not a pressure cooker, because they're just the population density is just lighter. um but then again, that's me making a lot of assumptions about New Zealand. If you're from New Zealand and you're like, oh no, man, they are armed to the fucking teeth, that leave a comment below. Or even if they're not, like, I would love to know a little bit more about like New Zealand law enforcement, um because that seems to be like a critical factor of this setup. Not necessarily the characters, but the setup. Like, when you remove a movie from a culture, sometimes there's a lot of translation problems. Like, for instance, just take another recent movie that hopefully most of you have seen, The Kingsman. You couldn't do that in any place other than England. It has the class warfare or the class struggle that the movie is talking about. It's got the snobbery. It's got the gang. It's got the violence problems. It's and if you remove that and tried to make that about the Secret Service, it wouldn't fucking work, because America doesn't have that same type problem, not in that way. And even if you're like, well, what if you just made the main character black? You're like, yeah, no, that's still a different story, because the particular class struggles of the United States are different than those in Britain. So there are a lot of small, subtle things about Housebound that if you bring them in America, I don't know if the movie's going to work anymore, because you kind of have to put them in a situation where they're by themselves in the middle of nowhere with like only a couple of neighbors. Where are you going to put that? Where are you going to set that? And where are you going to set, and how are you going to adjust for the fact that this one police officer is not super armed? How are you going to get around that? Like, that's going to change the movie subtly. Because like I said, there's a point at which like guns would be extremely useful. And you know cops in American movies, they're always like fucking armed to the teeth. They got rifles, they got shotguns, they got pistols. Like they're fucking like John Rambo with a badge. You know, which is why in most horror movies they generally don't deal with the cops, or the cops are obviated somehow. Um, it's also why there are sometimes a lot of drug use in horror movies, because it's an obvious reason why you wouldn't want cops around. Um, but anyway, back to Housebound. Wow, the movie's fantastic. You need to check it out. It's funny, it's taut, it's well acted, it's well shot. Everything about the movie is great. You need to watch it. Now, one thing I will warn you of, because I found this out when after I watched this, I immediately was like, "Oh man, when's that Blu-ray coming out?" The Blu-ray is only available through Amazon. So if you want to own a Blu-ray copy of Housebound, you have to get it through Amazon. It's an exclusive. You can't get it in a store. You have to get it through Amazon. No problem. I've got the Amazon Prime, so I'm just like, boop, send, and it should be arriving today. And I'm probably gonna watch it again. It's that good, man. So many good flicks. So many good flicks. I can't even. So many good genre movies are coming out right now. Like I said, in the Wormwood review, these great genre movies, they just keep happening, and they're starting to happen with more frequency. So pay attention, watch them now. I think this is gonna be the year where genre makes a fucking comeback. You are watching the cult classics of the next 5 years. They're coming out now, right to you. So watch Housebound video on demand on Amazon Instant. That's how I fucking saw it. Buy it on Blu-ray. Fucking check it out and enjoy the goddamn ride. And whatever you do, don't be afraid of the noises coming from the closet. Check you later, Fright Nights. Watch Housebound.